Hello and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show.
Welcome to one of the internet's best podcasts, where we dive deep into the lives of the extraordinary and fascinating people who leave an indelible mark on our world. Join us as we explore their captivating stories, remarkable achievements, and unique perspectives that shape history and inspire generations. Get ready to embark on a journey through the lives of inspiring people unlike any other.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show. Indeed, my name is Avrum Rosensweig. I want to welcome everybody here. I'm delighted to be here with you. And I do want to tell you that this show could not exist, could not carry on without the sponsorship and with the help of my viewers and my listeners. The podcast exists because of you. Sponsorship connects your brand with our engaged, value-driven audience and ensures we can continue creating the high-quality content our viewers and listeners love and rely upon. We offer tailored sponsorship packages, including ad placements, sponsored segments, and social media mentions. Your support ensures we can keep sharing stories that celebrate and strengthen our vibrant Jewish community, the world in which we live in, and learn more about who we are as human beings sharing this world together. Please be in touch at avrum.rosensweig@gmail.com, and I would love to talk to you more so about sponsorship. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very excited that I have as my guest today Elliott Katz. Elliott, how are you?
Good to be here.
It's great to have you, and let me just tell the folks who you are. Seeking to understand what it means to be a man in a relationship, author, speaker, and coach, Elliott Katz found powerful insight in the timeless wisdom that seems to have been lost to many men today. He shares these insights about leadership and about taking responsibility as a man, as a husband, as a father in his book, Being the Strong Man That a Woman Wants. The book has really struck a chord, both here in Canada and in the West and around the world. It's translated into 24 languages. Now, many women read this book and they ask, what can they do to get the man of their life who can wear the pants and take charge more at home? So he wrote a second book, and the book is called How to Get Your Man to Wear the Pants Appropriately, so you don't have to. He shares a lot of strategies on how to inspire a man to take the lead and make more decisions and not leave it all up to the women. Elliott's goal in life is to change humankind one man at a time. I love that. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me.
So you yourself, you're welcome. You yourself went through some trials and tribulations in life. You were divorced, right? So walk us through the process that took you from your marriage to your divorce to writing two books and the insights that you have in order to do this.
Okay, well, I was married for 10 years and then I got divorced. And like a lot of people, at first I blamed the other person. Then I came to the point of asking myself, well, what do I have to learn from all this? I don't want to go through this again. So I set out on a journey to learn, what does it mean to be a man in a relationship? And, I started talking to other men and listening to what they said. And I realized a lot of us are confused. and then I started reading books on relationships, and they really didn't answer my questions. And it was only when I really turned to the timeless wisdom, like wisdom that's been written over the centuries of what it means to be a man, I was blown away, because what they talked about coincided with what I heard women complain is lacking in men today. They don't show leadership, they don't make decisions, they don't take responsibility. There's this giant disconnect between all the things men have heard and what women really want. And it's really fascinating, because a lot of men, I've met so many divorced men, and we all think, well, we were good husbands and fathers. Why did my wife divorce me? I was a good guy. But they don't realize that what they did, thinking they were being good husbands and fathers, was the exact opposite of what the woman wanted. That's what was frustrating her. When a man, and I heard this so many times, a man will say, I worked hard to pay for all the things she wanted. I would come home, I'd say, what do you want me to do? And I would do everything she told me to do. And why is she complaining that I'm not really contributing? And I came to understand, well, you know what? A woman doesn't really want to have to tell a man what to do. She wants him to actually show his share of leadership. I mean, that was just one of the big lessons I learned. And women will say to me, when I always have to tell a man what to do, it makes me feel like I'm his mother and he's a child, and I don't want to be his mother. So there's so many things I learned, and the fascinating thing for me for this journey is writing this book with these insights. And so many men will say, if I had known this when I was married, I probably wouldn't be divorced.
Mhm.
And I've had women say, if my husband had known this when we were married, we wouldn't be divorced. So I said to realize there's a lot of wisdom out there that just men today weren't taught for a variety of reasons. And so that's why I've gone out and tried to change the world one man at a time. So that you don't have all these divorces that really could have been avoided, and you don't have all these children from broken homes. That's been the journey.
Yeah, you have a lot of quotes, obviously, from the book. One of which is, "If my husband of 38 years, which is almost 4 decades, it's a lifetime, had understood these basic but crucial truths, my marriage would not have disintegrated." So Elliot, were your parents? Did they stay together?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They stayed together 54 years until my father passed away. Um, and actually, their later years, they sort of fell in love with each other. It was quite
Uh,
something. It was very nice to see them. I'm the youngest of four, and after I left, I thought, well, what will give their life meaning and purpose without me to take care of it? They did great. um, yeah, no, I think the problem is the messages we hear in the media that are so pervasive. Toxic masculinity, don't be controlling. Listen to your wife says. So many men will say, "Well, I don't want to be controlling. I'll just let her make all the decisions. I'm being a great guy, and I can't. Why is she so angry at me?" So I said, to her, I'm laughing because I hear it so much. But men have to realize, you may think you're showing you believe in gender equality, but really you're frustrating your wife. And even it starts on the first date. I've had women say to me, and one of them was the relationship columnist of the Wall Street Journal. She said, if a man asks her out, and she says, yes, what did you have in mind? And he doesn't have a clue. Like he said, oh, I don't know. What do you want to do? That's a big turnoff right from the start. She wants a man who can make a decision, who can make a plan. Because if they get married, how is he going to handle the
yeah.
challenges and problems that come up in marriage? He's going to say, oh, what do you want to do? And that's what happens. Men think, and they work hard to provide for their families, and they're good people, and they can't understand, well, if I'm working so hard, taking on all these challenges to bring in some, the money to pay for everything, why is she coming to me with every little thing? And I explained to men, when she asks you these questions, like men will ask one fellow I was coaching, he says, she asked me to decide every little thing, like it doesn't matter to me. I said, it matters to her. When she asks you to make a decision, make the decision because it makes her feel safe and protected. We have this idea of women today that are strong and independent, and in the outside world and their careers and professions, they are. But when they're with a man, they want to feel like a woman. They want him to take charge, and they want to feel safe and protected. And if you're always asking her what to do, if there's a problem, what should we do? She doesn't feel safe and protected with you. And
Tell
it's
me,
so fascinating because like men don't realize that they're trying to make the woman happy, and they don't realize that they're actually damaging their relationship. Go ahead.
tell me something. Are you taking a lot of shit for this message?
Not at all.
No, no, and I'll tell you why. Let me explain my question. On one hand, obviously, people are reading it. It's translated into 24 different languages, like they say in Hebrew, "Kol hakavod," well done. But the wokeness that we exist in today is, Elliot, come on now. What you're doing is you're putting down women, and that is inappropriate. Men should. I could just hear all these voices coming your way. Is there not a lot of that?
There isn't any. Women will say, "This is what I want in a man." I was just talking to a woman on Saturday, and she had read the Wear the Pants book, and she says, "Yeah, this is what I see the problem with my daughter and the son-in-law.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always saying, whatever you want, just tell me what to do." And he's not really taking the lead on anything. It really bothers her. And women will say, "Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head." If you read the reviews on Amazon, there's one that says, this is dead on what women want. This is from a woman. And she says, thank you, Elliott Katz. You've given, my husband's reading this book and he's going to work on it and I'm going to support him.
Right.
And thank you for this book because you've given me hope for us as a couple again. because men don't realize this is what women want. We've heard all this stuff. See here, you're saying, well, it's anti-woke. Well, yeah, it is, but you see, that's so
Yeah.
much of the problem. Men think that's why men are surprised when their wives want a divorce. They think I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing what I'm supposed to. I'm being such a great guy. I remember when after I got to my marriage ended, I was invited by a men's group to a session they were having with a lawyer, and I thought, oh, I could learn things. And I thought, I'm not going to fit in. These guys are probably domineering and controlling. I was a nice guy. My wife didn't appreciate what a nice guy I was. So I went to the event. They're all the nicest guys you could ever meet. They all couldn't understand, why is my wife so angry at me? Why I tried so hard to please her, so hard to make her. I talk to men, I coach men. And I was like, I tried so hard to please her. I take her on trips to Europe. I take her here. I spent so much money. I'm happy I want to make her happy. Why does she hate me?
Yeah.
Because she doesn't want to please her, because a pleaser, she feels that if he's just a pleaser, he won't stand up and protect me. He won't make me feel safe and protected. It's so fascinating. That's the tragedy of so much divorce today, is that the man, and most divorces are initiated by women, right? In the study in the U.S. that 70% are initiated by women.
Right.
So they think, what? Why? I'm such a good guy. I'm trying so hard to please her. I want her to be happy. Tell me what you want me to do. That's another big mistake. Don't say, tell me what you want me to do, because you've missed the point completely. She wants you to be a leader. She wants you to be a good leader, and she'll be your partner if you are that good leader.
So, Elliot, let me ask you a question. How did this dynamic actually come about, where, let's say, many, many husbands are saying to their wives, tell me what to do? Where did that start from?
Because they're trying so hard to please the woman, and she's not happy, and you can't understand. Well, just tell them what you want.
Well, why don't they have in their heads, she'll be happier? Like, why isn't what you're spelling out for people a given? Why do
Right.
most men that I know, or men in my family, do exactly the wrong thing as you're saying it, which is,
Right.
okay, dear, what can I do? Why don't they step up and say, here's what I'm going to do?
Right. Because they weren't taught. It doesn't come naturally to men. Traditionally, they learned from watching their fathers or other older male role models, or they were taught it. And men today were not taught this. And the messages we hear are just the opposite. That's the tragedy. It's, a man, I've heard people who are been married many, many years, 35 years, 40 years. They'll say, when I was newly married, I had to learn how to be married.
Yes.
And that's what's lacking today. Men and women aren't learning how to be married. It's so fascinating. If you look in Genesis, right, book of Genesis,
Mm-hmm.
it says God created Eve to be Ezer Kenegdo, right, a helper opposing him, a helper against him. So when I read that, here I'm looking for wisdom on how to be a man. It says, well, a helper against him. What in the world does that mean? So the commentary takes it from the Talmud, and it says, if the man is worthy, the woman will be his helper. And if he's not worthy, she'll be against him.
Mm-hmm.
And just to clarify, essentially, she'll be his helper, but if he's not worthy, it's not that she won't be his helper. She'll be against him because she's so angry at him. She'll want to destroy him. But that's the message right there. You have to be worthy. And how do you be worthy? You have to be a leader. You have to, not just any leader. You have to be a leader and make good decisions. And she has to have confidence in you. It's like any leader. If we're going to vote for Prime Minister of Canada, we have to feel, I have confidence in his leadership. So it's the same thing with a woman, with a man. She wants to feel, I have confidence in him. I will feel safe and protected when I'm with him.
And that, I guess that's the crucial piece, is to feel safe and protected. But on the flip side, does the man want to feel safe and protected by his wife?
I don't know if it's so safe and protected. It's interesting. I did my own little survey and asking women, what's the most important thing a man wants from a wife? Not just a woman, a wife, the one he marries.
Yes.
And the answer always is sex. I said, well, yeah, men want sex, but what else do they want? What's even more important? And appreciation, respect. I said, if you ask men, I've asked men, what's the most important thing you want from a wife? Every man will say the same thing. He wants a partner.
Yes.
He wants someone who's going to be with him through thick and thin, enjoy the good times together, and help him through the bad times. He wants a partner. He wants someone loyal. Well, how come every woman I ask said, All men want is sex. Anyway, so there's a lot of learning, and I'm trying to teach the world
One man at a time.
one man at a time, right? Because that's what. So my one book, the first book being The Strong Man and Woman Wants, is for men, and then the second one, How to Get Your Man to Wear the Pants, is how to get your man to be the strong man you want.
So over time, I've read a bunch of studies too about what a woman wants from a man, and I found that fascinatingly that what a woman wants from a man very often, not across the board, is that he should make her laugh.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
What do you think that is?
Um, no, I wrote an article about that. That women like men who make them laugh. So you should try to be. I think. I think generally, actually, people like people who make them laugh. You ever
Yes,
notice,
they
like a
do.
speaker always starts by telling jokes because, you'll warm up to the person, make them feel comfortable. It's, I think there's some, when you laugh, the endorphins in your brain do things. It's something I don't know, but that is true what you're saying. They like it. I mean, but that's not the only thing. I mean, you've got to do more than that. But definitely, women told me they'll say, "Oh, I like him. He makes me laugh."
He makes me laugh. Yeah. By the way, Elliot, I want to point out to you, it's a good opportunity to do so. Both times that you and I have had to schmooze, um, I find that you're a very happy fellow, at least on the face of it. Like you always have a smile on your face.
Okay.
So, is your current relationship working out well then?
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. 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 I've been together with someone 6 years almost now, and no, it's good. It's good. You know what? And you know what? She said to me right in the beginning, so I would make all these decisions about things that really didn't matter to me. Either way is fine, but no, I know she wants me to make. What do I think? I'll tell you what I think. Since it's a, and she said to me, it makes her feel safe and protected. She
Yeah,
was
that's
one
what
of,
she says.
yeah, she said that to me, but also men I have coaches, I told them to do that. And the women have said that to them. It makes them feel safe and protected. Really, women really want, when they're with a man, they want to feel safe and protected. When they go out into the world, they can be tough and aggressive and, you know, independent and strong. When they're with a man, their husband, that's not what they want to put that aside.
So let's walk through a scenario here. So your better half, your partner, says to you, oh, "Honey, let's go out for dinner." What happens in that room then with you?
Well, I could suggest where we can go. And usually she goes along with me. Yeah. It's I talk at singles events, right?
Yes,
And I
yes.
and I say, don't ever say, I ask the women, I said, how many women here have had a guy ask them out, and you say, yes, I'd like to go out. What do you have in mind? Oh, I don't know. What do you want to do? Does that you like that? Nobody likes that. So I tell them, come, don't come empty-handed. Even if you say, I've heard this movie is really good, and she says, yeah, it is good. I've seen it 3 times, and then
Yeah.
then you have no second choice, but then at least you come with something. Or if she says, let's go to this fish restaurant, and she says, no, I have an anaphylactic reaction to the smell of fish. Well, okay, you could do something else, but don't come empty-handed and say, well, I don't know, what do you want to do? Oh, it's a big turn. Like I say, she wants a man who's going to be able to stand up for herself, for both of you. I coached one woman who said to me that was the problem, why she divorced her husband, to be in a challenging situation, and he left it to her to deal with. And I'm sure, as I told her, I said, well, you know what? He probably thought he's showing he believes in gender equality.
Right.
Well, let you deal with it. We'll do it your way, and then that way you'll be happy because we're doing it the way you wanted. It doesn't work that way. I mean, if she disagrees with you, yeah, you could listen to what she says. If she's got valid points, yeah, of course, listen to her. She's an intelligent person, but don't come empty-handed. It's really, she feels like she's got a child.
Do you ever feel as though that you're slacking off within that place? In other words, like I don't want to make decisions tonight. You make the decision. Is that okay?
Once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I could see myself. I've been in a number of relationships. I'm 64 and I'm not married, so that certainly tells you something, and it tells women something too. That I have a problem with intimacy. That's what it tells you. But I know that having to make decisions within a relationship can get very tiring. And what can happen is, tell me if I'm right here, is there an imbalance that can be created by this man jumping in, being the man that you're talking about, taking on a leadership position, and making all these decisions, and then it just doesn't seem like she's making decisions now?
Right, right. Well, okay, so I've had people say to me, okay, so, I work hard all day. I come home exhausted. I don't
Yeah,
want to make any decisions.
yeah. Or here's the
Well,
baby, right? Here's
yeah,
the
yeah.
baby.
And so I say to them, you work hard because you want to provide a good life for your family. So in the same way, you got to save some energy to do your share of taking charge at work, at home, for the same reason, because you want a nice life from your family. You don't want to get divorced. In the media and the magazines, they talk a lot about today about emotional labor and mental load. And it's just, what are they really saying? They're really saying they want the man to deal with the problems. He sees the problem. Like, don't just ask her what to do. Find the solutions. So they're tired of having always have to come up with the solutions. I've had lots of women say, I'm tired. I don't want to do it all the time. And so you have to do your share. And like it's the same way you're working hard. You don't want to get divorced because your wife is fed up with you because you're not meeting her emotional needs. That's the one thing they'll say. What's your emotional needs? You're being passive. You're just leaving everything to her. It really, and it's funny for guys, we think, what's the problem? We'll do it your way. Why don't we just do it? Even like another area, planning a vacation. Now you think, well, if you say to her, here, you plan the vacation, I'll pay for it. Like, what would be, why would she not be happy with that? No, she wants you to be involved in planning it, to come forward with some ideas. It's really important, and men don't realize how important it is. That's the problem. Like I said, we all think, oh, I believe in gender equality. I met this woman, very attractive woman. She says to me, she goes out with this guy. She goes out for dinner on a date, and the bill comes, and she offers to pay for it, and he accepts. And then she says to me, now we can't understand why I won't go out with him again. I said, because I'm sure he thought, I'll show her I believe in gender
For
equality.
sure.
I'll let her pay. Don't let her pay. She's just testing you to see if you're going to insist on paying.
Wow. So you're really fighting a system here, aren't you?
Well, the reality is, I'm not really. I mean, there's all these ideas out there, but they're just not helpful. They're just they're just not helpful.
They're not working.
Yeah, they're not working. I wrote this article about 12 ways to make a positive impression on first date. And people accepted all of them except one of them. I was really shocked. So what was the one everybody objected? Oh, no, the men objected to. I said, when you take a woman out and you go pick her up, open the car door for her.
Yes.
No, no, that's sexist. I said, I've opened the car door for a lot of women. None of them have ever complained.
They haven't complained.
No, but that's just the idea. Like, oh, are we saying that women are we saying to her, oh, you can't open the car door, you're too weak? No, you're making her feel special.
And is it okay if she opens the door for you too?
Sure. What do you mean if it's her car?
If it's her car. Yeah. Listen, I understand the model that you've created here, and I like it. I guess the obvious question is, look, my parents were married for 36 years. My father died very young at 61 years old. It was a classic father knows best environment, right? Where my father was a rabbi. He went to work. He stayed there for many hours. My mother took care of the home, and she worked really, really hard. Plus, she had to teach in the cheder, in the Jewish afternoon school. She had a full schedule, and my father would bring home people for her to be the hostess to, and so on. They remained together. I know very many environments like that where everybody takes a very specific role, especially in religious households. And on some level, it seems to work. What's your take on that?
Well, it's very interesting because you talked about Father Knows Best. So I actually wrote an article that was in USA Today about Father Knows Best.
Yeah.
So there, the father worked, the mother stayed home. But what happened when the father came home? Do you remember? He would become aware of whatever problems had come up during the day while he was at work, and he would step forward and deal with them. He didn't say to his wife, "Oh, what should I do? What do you want me to do?" He saw problems. He stepped forward and dealt with it with the kids, whatever it was. He dealt with them. So I think there's a lot we can learn from Father Knows Best in that regard.
Within your book, there are a number of different key principles that you bring forward in order to create the model that you think might be best or a very reasonable model within a relationship. And some of those key points includes strength and leadership, confidence. You're speaking of confidence of the man, and by virtue of that, confidence of the woman as well. Communication skills, protectiveness, decision making, emotional availability. Does that fit in? Is that a piece that makes sense to all of these other ones? Emotional availability.
I'm not sure what you mean by emotional availability. That the
It includes allowing yourself to be vulnerable and open, and thereby allowing for a deeper connection.
that's a great question. I think it's a matter of degree. I was talking to somebody who's getting divorced, and he said that his wife is divorcing him because she doesn't like he always talks about his feelings. So I said, well, it's okay to talk about your feelings, but not too often. Because she wants to feel safe and protected. So if you're coming home saying, "Oh, I had a horrible day at work," and you're not making her feel safe and protected if you're about to lose your job or something. I mean, what you're saying is yes. I mean, you share your personal feelings, but it's like I was once asked in an interview, is when a man cries, is that a sign of strength? So I said, well, once in a while, if somebody you love has died, okay, you can cry. But if you're going to come home every day crying because your boss was nasty to you, it's not really what your wife wants to see. So what you're saying is true, but I think just it's a matter of degree. I think just she still has to feel that you're strong and you can make her feel safe and protected. It's really and just your other things that I said, these are just this is not a model that I created. This is a model that's been taught for like thousands of years. Really, if you look at the wisdom and the sources, it's like from 2,000 years ago. It's from 100 years ago. It's like these are not new ideas.
Yes.
It's just that in this generation, we seem to have forgotten them. We've created all these new ideas that are not working. They're not helpful.
So will you be vulnerable with your partner? Will you cry with her?
If it just depends. If somebody I loved very much passed away, yeah. If some great tragedy happened, but if something, it just depends. You can't cry about everything. You understand what I'm saying.
Find the balance. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, like she has to feel, you're the rock that she can lean on, right? These are things that women say. So if you're always crying, it's like, oh, it's but occasionally, something tragedy, yeah, something's
No,
happening.
it's interesting with me. I just lost my very dear friend, Marty Gallen. He and I did radio and TV for over a decade. We were the food guys and quite well known in the city, at least. And when he died, I sobbed, but I sobbed very quietly. Now I have female friends and I have male friends, and I was felt as though I wanted to be more so with my female friends because of that sense of caring that I get from women. Um, but I didn't really cry in front of them. I certainly did not sob in front of them. I was too guarded. Now, just a bit of a preface there is that for many, many years, I actually didn't cry at all. I couldn't allow myself to do that. And then when I started crying more so, I was kind of selective as to where I would do it and with whom. So I don't know. Is that a natural response, do you think?
I think so. I think so. You know what? I mean, I think of a situation where I cried. I mean, I'll tell you, when I was married, my wife, her first pregnancy ended in a miscarriage, and it
Mm,
really
I'm sorry.
hurt me. And yet she was in the hospital, and I had to be strong and be there for her.
Yes.
But when I got home and I was by myself, I cried. It
Mhm.
was very sad. So I mean, sometimes you just have to, you know, be strong in that for that situation. Then when you're by yourself, you can cry. I think I heard President George W. Bush said that sometimes he would cry and then get in private, like some situations. they were so tragic that, but he would cry in private. So, yeah. I mean, we just, but there are times when people are looking to us to be strong, so we have to, we have to control ourselves.
Yeah, it's to find that balance. Basically, that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
there's five songs that I found having to do reflecting the quality of a good husband. One of them is "Thinking Aloud" by Ed Sheeran. Uh, "God Gave Me You" by Blake Shelton. "Just the Way You Are" by Bruno Mars. "Amazed" by Lone Star, and "Better Together" by Jack Johnson. When you were putting together your book, did you come across poems or prose or songs that reflected your thoughts?
Well, you know what? There was one song. I don't think I have it in front of me. Amy Winehouse, "Stronger Than Me." You know
Yeah.
that song?
Yes, I
And
do.
she says, "Yeah, you're my child boy or something. You're supposed to be stronger than me. You're older than me." I say, "Yeah, that's it." She's describing exactly what I write about.
Very good. You know what? I'm fascinated by this from a cultural standpoint, Elliot. You and I were Canadians, right? We were probably born in a similar hood. What street were you born on?
I'm actually from Montreal,
Oh, you're
so
a Montrealer.
yeah,
Okay. How long have you been here?
almost 41 years.
Okay, so you're used to Toronto yet?
Yeah, oh yeah.
You got used to it, yeah. So I'm originally from Kitchener, but I've lived in the Shepherd and Bathurst area, North York, for most of my life. And so we share this culture. So I can understand when you write your books that it's very culturally based in the West. But what about places like Japan? Well, what is the relationship between men and women there? What's the expectation, and how do you go about explaining to the Japanese this model that goes back thousands of years and that you're bringing to us now?
That's a great question. And what I learned, like I said, the book's been translated to 24 languages around the
Yeah,
world,
right.
including Japan. And like I really thought, so what did I learn from all that? I learned that human nature is similar. Our cultures may be different, but human nature is similar, that a man needs to learn how to be a man. And in Japan, it was published by a big publisher. And in Japan, you think every man has a geisha, right?
Mhm.
But it's just like men have to learn, you know, to be strong and to take charge and show leadership and make the woman have confidence in them that they can feel safe and protected. It's really fascinating. Even places like Brazil. Brazil was published by a big publisher. They did very well with the book there. And you think Brazil is that where the whole image of machismo originated? You think, well, and a lot of like traditional countries like in Eastern Europe, like Russia, Ukraine, Serbia, Croatia, all these countries where you figure like the traditional role of men and women, has never changed because they weren't influenced by the West. No, they book was published there, and people read it. And so it's just fascinating because it's just nature. I mean, to me, when you think, and right in the first chapter of Genesis, we have the story about Adam and Eve and teaching men you have to be worthy. I said, wow, that story's like, whether you believe it or not, I'm not pushing religion, but it's 5,000 years old at least.
Mhm.
Wow, 5,000 years ago, men had to learn that. Well, they still have to learn it today, and it doesn't come naturally. And if you have a father who can teach you, great, or somebody else, or you can read my book and save yourself the cost of a divorce.
So let's stay with the cultural questions. What about, as an example, Israel or the Middle East? How does your message come across?
Well, that's a great question. So I haven't really got much feedback from Israel, but it was just published in Arabic by a publisher in Saudi Arabia. So I'm just waiting to hear uh, and what kind of reaction they have there. Because, it's interesting. Hey, we have this image of the Arab countries, male, very dominant, right? That's not the image. But here it's published in Arabic and by a big publisher in Saudi Arabia. So we'll see what I when I get the answer, I'll give it to you.
Right. And I think perhaps your message of not being subservient, but not being, having sort of a machismo approach
Right,
is somewhere in the middle. Your message
right,
is somewhere in
right.
the middle. Would you argue that's a universal thing? Like if we really went into the core of Saudi Arabia and its culture, husband wife culture, would we find that somewhere in the middle The wife wants the man, you make some decisions. Let's
Right.
share this role. And the
Right.
man wants the woman um, to allow him to protect her,
Right.
and to be that individual who can make sure that they are part of decision making for the kids. Is it a universal piece?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's what one of the quotes in the book I talk about. It's actually a quote from the Talmud where the stories I read in a couple of books, or two books, where it said, if your wife is short, bend down and seek her advice. I thought, well, okay, that's interesting. That seems to be saying you should listen to your wife. But then if you go to the actual page in the Talmud, it actually says, it's that's your response to an earlier statement, which is, if you always follow your wife's advice, your life will descend to Gehenna. So it's like, it's a balance. If you
Gehenna
never
being hell.
Hell, right. If you never listen to your wife, listen to her. If you always just automatically do what she says, that's not good either. So it's a balance. It's right in the middle. Like, she knows things, you know things. Listen to her. She should listen to you. Don't just say whatever you want. You decide whatever you want. That's what so many men say. Whatever you want, you decide. You're not making your wife happy when you say that.
Have you seen the outcome of this? We'll call it your model
Yeah.
versus other models in terms of how the children grow up. What have you heard from individuals you've coached, or environments where you have come and spoken to husbands or ex-husbands or ex-wives? How do the kids end up predicated on these different
Well,
approaches?
it's an interesting question. So it makes me think one of the fellows I coached was he was still married at the time, but his wife was like poisoned the kids against him, most of their kids. And and he worked hard. He brought in a lot of money. He worked hard, and I said, but I said, here, it's not enough just to bring in that money. You see, she's got some challenges. Like, we decided we came up with a strategy. Okay, which child do you think can be more easily influenced?
Mhm.
And one of his daughters said, well, you see, she's got these issues that nobody's dealing with. She's just sort of like depressed. And so I said, here, you have to step forward like a father. Your job isn't just to give her money, but to step like a father and help her solve those issues. And what I suggested to him was, she wasn't doing anything. So I said, why don't you hire her to work in your business? Give her a job, give her something to do. And as a result of that, uh, stepping forward and dealing with it, all the other kids sort of like became very close to him. It was very beautiful to see that. So, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, when a father is doing his role of stepping forward and being a teacher and a problem solver and a guide. One of the quotes I have in the book is from Benjamin Spock, Dr. Spock, right? Whose book was one of the best-selling books of the 20th century. He says, if you want to be a good husband and a good father, you have to be a leader of and a role model to your children. You can't just leave it all to her. You see a problem, step forward, find a solution. Don't just say whatever you want or what should I do. By what he did, became very close to his daughter.
Have you had any religious responses to your book, be they from religious leaders, be they from Judaism, Christianity, or Islam, or people who are religious themselves? Does your approach work for them?
I don't think I've had specifically. I'm just trying to think. What's interesting is that in the Catholic Church, you have to attend a pre-marriage course if you want to be married in the Catholic Church, which is something I think Jews should adopt. It's
Yeah.
a good idea. But I was once invited to speak at as one of these pre-marriage courses in a Catholic church. So I guess they liked it. I mean, these are just like really universal principles that really work. I mean, this is what's worked for thousands of years, and it works. And that's the thing; it really does work. And unfortunately, like I've been saying, these ideas that are so pervasive today, like you see on television, like men being ridiculed, although you don't see it that much anymore, thank God. But that it doesn't work. The ideas that people have today, it's just not helping.
It's interesting you say that about what we see on TV. I have been saying this for so long that when you look at, let's say, Canadian casting for commercials, essentially what you see more often than not is that the woman is mature, she's bright, she knows what's going on, and she knows
Yeah,
what needs to be done. And the guy's a goof.
yeah.
What's that all about?
It's just it's wrong. It's giving people a bad idea. I mean, look at Homer Simpson. I mean, that was the worst.
Right.
He was a buffoon who was incapable, who needed his wife to rescue him. That's not a positive role model. I mean, you could laugh. It's comedy, okay, but just don't think that that's a role model of how you should be.
And did you quote a statistic or some sort of study about Homer? And tell us about that. That's bizarre.
I don't remember the numbers, but yeah, a lot of people saw Homer Simpson as an example of how a father should be, and or they thought their father their fathers were like, it's very sad. I mean, it's funny. You could laugh, but we really need it's because we really need wisdom that teaches men how to be proper husbands and fathers, and they're really lacking. And if you look, like I said, if you look at the reviews on Amazon, I remember one review, a fellow said, my girlfriend broke up with me because she said I wasn't leading, and he says I didn't have a clue what she's talking about. And by reading this book, he understood now. Oh, he's got to, show leadership. It's really men just need to learn it. It just doesn't come naturally to them. And every man who's had a successful marriage will say, I had to learn how to be a husband. And it just doesn't come naturally. That's the main thing. And that's why it's been translated all these languages. It's the same. Men all over the world, they need to learn. So I'm trying to change the world.
Good for you, man. Good for you. We're talking about how to be a great husband and consequently how to be a great wife. We're talking about how to be a great dad. In literature, some of the great dads that we read about include Atticus Finch, To Kill a Mockingbird. Have you read To Kill a Mockingbird?
In high school, a long time ago.
Atticus Finch's form of fatherhood and as citizen and the legal stuff that he would do was exactly as you're saying, to take on leadership,
Right.
to stand tall, to have your values and speak about them and share them and do so courageously. Mr. Bennett from Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Mufasa from The Lion King. Do you remember The Lion King?
Right.
Yeah. Lazarus Long from Time Enough for Love. Bob Cratchit from A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. You know what interests me about your writing and about this interview itself and others I've seen you in is that you often quote the Torah. You often quote the Talmud.
Right.
Is that a strong basis for your whole model?
Yeah. I mean, basically, like I was saying, I read books, I listened to men, I read secular books, even read Jewish books on marriage, and they really didn't answer my question. It's really when I went to the original sources that I said, wow, it blew me away. Things that I read, just like, wow. One of the things Rabbi Akiva says in the Talmud that I teach guys today, because a lot of guys I coach, like they're in financial stress because they spent so much money thinking they bought the big house or the expensive renovations or the luxurious trips so they would make their wives happy, and that's not making them happy. So I said, well, you know what? 2,000 years ago, Rabbi Akiva said in the Talmud that if you want to get rich to buy luxuries for your wife, you'll never be rich because your wife will never be satisfied.
Yeah.
Who was rich? A man married to a woman whose ways are pleasant and who together with her husband appreciates what they have. So it's like, you know what? And I tell them, the problems in your marriage are not because you don't have a big house or expensive renovations. That's not the cause of the problems. The cause of the problem is your relationship. So you know what? It's like you take a burden off their shoulder. I mean, I don't have to work like a slave to pay for all this. So it's not going to make a difference. And you know one other thing that really struck me? I told you the story of Adam and Eve, because what happens? They have one commandment: don't eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Eve eats it. She pressures Adam to eat it. And what happens? He eats it, and then he's hiding in the bushes. And God says to him, Adam, did you eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge I commanded you not to eat? And what does he say? He says, the woman you sent me gave it to me, and I ate it. When I read that was like a kick in my head. I said, that's what men do today. They give into something they know is wrong, and then they blame their wife. And as if they know when they're giving in, well, I'm just going to blame her when it goes wrong. And does it help him? No, there's no sympathy for him. So I tell men, don't give in. First of all, don't give in, because you're not, if you give in to something that's wrong and you get into financial stress or whatever, you're not making her feel safe and protected. But then if you blame her, you're not being a man. It's like she wants you to be the man. If you gave in, you are responsible. And then that's exactly the story in Adam and Eve. I said, wow, men have been doing this for 5,000 years and they've been blaming their wives.
Over and over.
Oh, it's amazing. I just said, wow. And you know what? No one ever taught me that. No one of these Jewish books on marriage ever taught me that. Don't give in to something that's wrong. Don't blame her. Take responsibility. If you blame her, she doesn't see you as a man. It's real. It's an amazing. It's right in the first book of Genesis, of the Torah, the book of Genesis. There, wow, it's a powerful story. It's like men do that. They blame, and then they think, well, and then they can't understand why their wives hate them or are fed up with them. Don't blame her. Don't blame her.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Elliott Katz, who's the author of two really good books, How to Get Your Man to Wear the Pants So You Don't Have to, and Being the Strong Man a Woman Wants, Timeless Wisdom for Men on How to Improve Your Relationship. The books are available at Amazon and other outlets. And we're going to spend a few more minutes together. But before we do, I just want to remind our listeners and our viewers that sponsorship is available for the Avrum Rosensweig Show. And if you'd like to hear more about it, there are all kinds of opportunities. Be in touch with me at avrum.rosensweig@gmail.com. I'd appreciate it, and I think that we could have a good time together. You'll be part of this vibe, which is a very exciting vibe. So, Elliott, do you are you a pundit? Do you know what you're talking about?
A pundit meaning?
Are you good at this whole thing? Have you figured it out?
I hope so. I think I've learned a lot, and when I talk to, when I coach people, it's like I just say, let me share with you what I learned.
Yeah.
If it helps you, good. If not, you can ignore it. I won't be offended, but they're just surprised when I tell them things that they never thought of. That's really the thing. I just spent a lot of time learning. And say, like, there were so many things. I realized, the 10 years I was married, I really didn't know much.
Yes, exactly. And that's my question. Like, how much have you learned over time? My God. Hey, Elliott, do you ever go out into public and watch a husband and wife and go, ooh, I wish I could just go over to them and explain to them what they're doing wrong? Does that happen?
Yeah. But if I don't know, I don't do that.
You don't do it, right?
I don't, but no, you really often see it. Yeah. I hear it all the time. The men will say, oh, my wife tells me, she says to me, if I want your opinion, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And they're joking, but you know what? Underneath the joke is truth. It's like, I would never say that. All these things, it's like, it's not, what does it say in the Talmud? It says there are three lives that are not lives. And one is a person who has to eat at the table of others. One is the person whose body is racked with pain. And the other is a man who is ruled by his wife. His life is not a life. It is as if he is not alive. So when I see these guys being ruled by their wives and they're thinking, I'm such a great husband, I just feel sorry for them. You're not making her happy and you have no life. So read my book and have a life.
Yeah, read your book, damn it. Okay, just a few questions for you. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
You know what? It's interesting. Harvard University did an 80-year study on happiness. And it's like what they said was like, well, you didn't have to do 80 years. I could have told you what brings happiness, having a good relationship with your family and friends. That brings a richness and happiness to life. And everything else is secondary. As long as you have a place to live, food to eat, But if you're close to your family and you have good friends, you're rich, you're a lucky guy.
Do you have amazing friends? And do you have female friends?
Yeah, oh yeah. Female friends and good friends. And I'm very close with my daughters. It gives me I feel very fortunate. In a divorce, sometimes things don't work out that way, but I was fortunate that my daughters and I are very close.
Thank God for that. What's your greatest fear in life?
Oh, I don't know. I have a fear of heights.
Do you? Have you ever been up on Masada?
Yeah.
Were you okay up there? I felt like I was going to jump.
No, I think I have a fear when, if it's, I'm close to something, you know what it is? My grandmother always told me how her mother fell off a balcony and died that way.
Oh,
That
yeah.
she was airing out a quilt over the
Nice.
rail of the balcony, and she was bending over, and the railing gave away. She died, she fell, broke her neck, and she died. And I think ever since then, it's like I have a fear of balconies.
I do now too. What happened to the quilt? You know,
I'm
and it's in your bedroom. What's your greatest extravagance in life, Elliot? What do you
not
spend cash on? Do
extravagant at all. I'm not. I don't think I'm extravagant.
you have a nice car?
It's, let me think. It's 13 years old.
Yeah, mine too.
I like it.
Yeah, last question. On what occasion is it okay to lie
Well, that's a good
within
question.
within a relationship? You know.
You know, it's really not good to lie at any time. I mean, you don't want to hurt a person's feelings. You don't want to. You can, but what does the Torah teach us? You can sort of twist the truth if you don't want to hurt a person's feelings. But I think you really have to be honest, because if you lie to a person and then they find out that you were lying, that really destroys everything. I mean, I think people I've had relationships with, not whether romantic relations or any kind of, when they lie to you, once you find out they were lying to you, it's like this is finished. You know,
Okay. Your girlfriend comes to you and she says, "Honey, um, what do you think of this beautiful red dress I just bought?"
I
And
tell
she
her it's
tries.
beautiful.
What if you don't
So
like it?
you look at that. You know what? If
Shalom bias.
you know what? Sometimes she'll say, "Which do you like better, this or this?" And I'll tell her, "I like this one better. I don't like that one." But yeah, if you have to, she asks you to choose, yeah, to make the decision. So I'll make the decision.
All right, but there's a concept in Judaism as well called shalom bayit,
Right.
which is to keep peace in the house, and sometimes maybe a white lie is okay.
Right. And that's what we're taught in the Torah, right?
Yes, yes.
That it's all right. A white lie. To tell, you go to a wedding, you can tell the bride she's beautiful, or tell the groom that his bride is beautiful, even if she's not your type, but you should tell. Right? So it's okay. That's
All
okay.
right, so I've been playing around with AI a little bit. Have you tapped into AI at all?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. How do you use it?
Well, as part of Google, I think, yeah, they start when you ask a question, they go through AI and give you some answers before
Okay.
they give you some sources.
Yeah, you may want to go to ChatGPT and ask them what is the proper way of being a husband. See what it says. But
Okay. Have you
that
done that?
so I've been asking AI, Elliot, to write poems about my guests.
Oh,
So
okay.
I have an ode to Elliott Katz I want to
Okay.
read to you. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
hold on tight there.
Okay.
Yeah. In the realm where wisdom meets the heart, Elliott Katz plays a vital part. With ink and insight, he crafts a guide for men and fathers to walk with pride. Be the strong man a woman wants, he says, a call to honor in tender ways. Through trials of love, he lights the path to balance the dant, the bow's strength, and warmth, wrath. His words empower a gentle command, teaching the art of a steady hand. How to get your man to wear the pants. In laughter and patience, he shows us the dance. With humor and heart, he coaches the wise, fathers embracing the challenge and rise. In family circles, his lessons expand, building connections that deeply withstand. So here's to Elliot, a beacon so bright, guiding through the shadows, bringing forth light. In the journey of love, may we always find the strength to be gentle, the courage to bind. What'd you think?
Well, wow, beautiful. That
That's
that
ode.
was AI wrote that.
Yeah, that's AI. Ode to Elliot Katz.
Wow, very good. Okay.
Elliot, I really want to thank you for being here. I quite enjoyed our discussion. I see you as both a groundbreaker and a traditionalist.
Right. That's
Does that resonate with you?
I think so. I think so. Really, just sharing the values, the ideas that people were taught for generations that this generation wasn't taught. That's how I see it, and that these values work, and like sort of groundbreaking, people shouldn't have to get divorced. People should have peace in their home. They and they and by learning how they have to do it and realizing what they were doing before wasn't working and
Does,
what they should be doing.
does it hurt you every time you hear about a divorce?
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
does. I can see.
Often because, like I say, it's not necessary. It's just not, so many of them, if the person knew, like the man knew what he was supposed to be doing, they probably wouldn't be divorced.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're going to change this world one man at a time. Good for you, my
Absolutely.
friend. Good for you.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, their two books are available. Tell us where they're available, Elliott.
Well, I read them on Amazon as a paperback, as an ebook, and as an audiobook. And if you get them, just you can write a review, or if you want to contact me, you have any questions, I'm happy to help people. It's my website is www.elliottKatz.com, ELLIOTTKATZ.com. And if you want to email me, it's Elliott, ELLIOTTRKATZ at AOL.com. Don't forget there's two T's. That's the British way of spelling it.
I guess a lot of people spell with one T, don't they?
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, you're the double T. All right, folks, I want to thank everybody for joining us. And I encourage you to buy Elliott's books so that you can put some cash in his pocket, but more so that you might be saving your marriage or somebody else's, or perhaps just to learn more so, what you can do to enhance your husbandry as well as your fatherhood. And that's a good thing always. I think people who stop reading and talking about how to get better within those positions, they get stale, right, Elliott? They get stale.
Right.
So keep
You got
reading.
to keep learning.
Got to keep learning.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to being with you again tomorrow. We're going to be doing Parsha and Prose with Rabbi Shlomo Gomorrah. We took off a week because of the passing of my dear friend Marty Gallen. God bless his soul. But we're looking forward to it, and we would really like you to join us. And also, if you can subscribe to the channel, that's a really good thing too, because it can put some cash in my pocket. Ultimately, we're up to almost 6,000 subscribers on YouTube, and so it's growing dramatically. Elliott, once again, thank you very much. Great job. Did a beautiful job. And until we meet again. So Zeigazun, folks, we will be back soon. Take care.